break? Yeah, it could be a little bit longer, right? A few more days. Yeah, and actually recently the weather changed quite fast, so you have to pay a little bit more attention. Now, because of, doctors also get nervous if you got the fever, it could be because of the flu, not because of the virus. Yeah, and then the doctor also, got a little bit worried. So you have to pay a little bit more attention. Like for example, today in the early morning it was sunny, and then now it's a little bit chilly then. Yeah, so then actually it's really easy to get cold then. Yeah, and
Don't you feel cold?
huh?
Don't you feel cold? Don't you feel cold?
What?
Do you feel
Me? I feel okay. Yeah. Because in earlier this morning it was I feel a little bit cold then. Yeah, but then after like because I have a morning class, and then after I finish my class I feel a little bit hot because at that time during the noon time it was so kind of, I think the temperature was so high. But like after an hour, yeah, earlier it changed a little bit. Yeah, but then for the past few days, it's the same. Generally the weather changed, past the noontime. Yeah, I think it's also a little bit kind of the typical weather in April and also in May, because it now is kind of a little bit like the start from we call it like a raining season. Yeah, you can check for some other students, they stay here a little bit longer, then yeah, they know about it, like Katri, right? Is that right? The weather in this season, and then in this season it comes with this insects. 小黑蚊. It's a mosquito. It's mosquito. It's for the summertime. Yeah, but not just mosquito. That kind of mosquito, you cannot see them. It's invisible. But then if you stay outside for a little bit while, more than 30 seconds, then you got mosquito bites, and it's so itching. Yeah. Yeah. And actually you have to, it's better for you to go to the pharmacy to ask the pharmacist to buy some ointment. Yeah, then it helps. Otherwise, if you buy some spray, from the supermarket, for example, it does not help at all. Yeah, the mosquito, they got I think they also got some what? Yeah, emu from those spray then. Yeah, but not just only for that, they also have another insect. It's like a worm. As in Chinese we call it malu. It's really scary. It's small, and then actually, but it does not harm people. But then, this season it has a lot. When you like on the hallway, sometimes you will see them. It's a little bit like a brown color and about this long, the length like this. Yeah, a little bit like a worm. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, so. Yeah, it's a springtime. It's an advantage, but on the other side, all this, like the insect, they also start to be active. Yeah. Okay, so today we will move on to our topic 5, and then for the case presentation. Actually for today's case, I also have to apologize because I checked for it yesterday, and then I found out like the content, the PowerPoint slides, it's a little bit limited. Yeah. So now I have to, to remind you all, because it doesn't matter for the readings or for the case. Please try to make the PowerPoint slides as clear as possible. But I mean, on the other hand, you don't put too many words in there. But I mean, like, you don't try to, think about like, for example, you just only put 2 slices and then by orally present for it, then you can make it clear. No, that is not possible, right? You have to try to cover for all story that it shows, for example, for the case, okay? You have to try to cover for all, like most important issues, okay, in the case, in the background. Okay, you have to address for it clearly. I think if you check for the template that I uploaded or the other day, the past few weeks, I also mentioned to you about it. Then you can understand about it. Yeah, because the important, before there are some, from my prior semesters, there are some presentation group. They told me that the reason why, for example, they just only have like, for example, 3 slices, in their PowerPoints. And they try to tell me like, well, because it has these questions discussed, so then they try to cover some of the content in the questions discussed. No, that's not right. Right? The issues, for the case study is that for the background part, actually that part is very important. You have to address for the whole case thoroughly, completely, for what it happens in this case. For example, today's case, actually it also covered for, like, there are several candidates, after this interviewing process, then they have about 4 candidates, it's under their consideration. Actually, for that part, it also has to be covered in the presentation. So later in the, questions discussion, then you try to analyze, for example, which candidates, would be the best one, would be a better one, sort of. Right? It's not like, you wait until the questions discussed, so then you address for that. No, that is not correct. Right? So, because this is the first case, so then, it's acceptable. But then for the rest of the case, okay, I don't think it's, it's okay to make the mistake then. Yeah, because if you, try to perceive yourself, if you are the audience sitting there, and then, actually for the questions, the discussion, for the questions that need to be analyzed, those will be the part that you already, as the audience, you already have fully understand about what does it happen in this case. So then you have sufficient knowledge to analyze for all these questions. Okay, you get it? Yeah, so that is the issue. So then for the readings, it's also the same. Okay, the readings, the presentation, the following one will be our second reading presentation. You also have to cover for some important issues. If you are not that sure about what should be covered, you can check for the template. Okay, or email me, let me know. Yeah. Yeah, because yesterday I checked for this PowerPoint slide and just saw it, include the cover page, it has only like 13 pages. Yeah, I was a little bit shocked. Yeah. Okay, so just try to remind you about it. And then another issue is for your team's presentation. You can decide it either one, for example, it will be the file uploaded by the team leader. So then, just one person upload the file, okay, to e-learning. Yeah, because sometimes I got several files from different team members. Yeah, so it's not necessary to do that. Yeah, you just maybe the team leader can do that. Yep.
Excuse me, I would like to ask specifically about this point that you just made.
Yeah.
Because we uploaded the file for case 1
Yeah.
separately only because I uploaded it first, and then my teammates couldn't see the uploaded file on e-learning, so we thought it was not
It was
uploaded.
not uploaded,
But
successfully
actually,
uploaded.
the thing is that they cannot see it, right? I can only see it when I upload it, but nobody else. So that's the reason. Is that correct?
Is that correct?
All right. So we apologize for uploading it multiple
Yeah.
times. The reason was this, that we
Okay.
didn't know
No
only
problem.
the
Because,
person who uploads it.
Because your group is not the only group who did this. Yeah. There are some students, they also did that. Yeah, sometimes I got confused a bit, but yeah, but I would check. Sometimes I check like is that because of the students revise the file or what? But then, I open those files, it comes up all the same. Then, yeah, so, yeah, then just the student who uploaded can see the file. The other person cannot see it then. Yeah, but then when the time you upload it, just make sure, because I think our TA, she make it clear, yeah, for for you to upload your file into some specific folder then. Yeah. So don't worry. Yeah. If you are not that sure about like if you did it successfully, if you've done it successfully, you can also email to the TA to request the TA to check that for you. Check for that. Yeah. So yeah, I think that is also okay then, right? Yeah. So those are some issues I have a little bit reminding, and for another reading, where's the presentation group for the second reading? Yeah, would you like to do it next week or later?
Postpone it.
Yeah, because I forget about it. So yesterday I just thought about it, so I uploaded, and then the reading is not that complicated. Don't get scared. Yeah, it's
Yesterday we already checked it, and then
it's an interesting article. Yeah, don't get scared. And that journal, Applied Psychology. Yeah, that is a very good journal. Yeah, they publish some good articles. Yeah, and yeah, the approach that they use is the meta-analysis. Meta-analysis indicates that meta. It indicates there are some research topic. Actually it has been done for a long time. So then the scholar, they try to collect for some research paper, and then those research paper, actually the research issue, for example, the variables that they use from these various literature are quite similar. So then they try to get the result, from all those literature. Generally for the meta-analysis, for the scholar, for them to do that, sometimes they collect for more than 100, 200 literature. So then they try to analyze for each literature's results finding. Yeah, and then of course they conduct it by, one of the analytical tools. Yeah, so the purpose is like they try to find out because as like for you to conduct a research, sometimes if you do that in different research contexts, even though like the variables are similar, but then the outcome it might comes out different. Yeah, some relationship for you to do it here in this research setting, some particular countries, it might be positive, but then if you do that in different country, in different research settings or different target respondents, then the finding, it could be different. Yeah, so then they try to find out what would be the the general outcomes from this phenomenon, from this research question. Yeah, so don't get scared about I was a little bit hesitating about selecting this article, but then, it's also quite interesting. Yeah, so And then for you to, for the presentation group, for you to present for that part, the methodology part, the most important issue is that you have to identify about the findings from some tables, okay? Like, for example, they might have some research questions or some hypothesis, but then from the tables, the result, the findings, tables, which part shows, like, for example, the first hypothesis, is significant. You have to identify it like that, yeah. So then the others, if it's not that important, and if you don't really understand about it, for the methodology part, you can also skip some of them if you don't really understand about it. The most important thing, but of course you have to tell your audience what kind of methodology or analytical tool that they use to analyze this research paper, okay? And then another important thing is that to report about the findings. How do you find out, like, from this research, and then this research question or this hypothesis is positive or negative, or is it significant or is it not significant, for example, right? Yeah, so those are the issue more important then. Okay, so then today, let's move on to another topic related to employee testing and selection. Okay, after the, last week we talked about this job analysis, and also, you conduct the job analysis, and also you post it for, like, some job position that you need to recruit for more people, more employee for your department or for your company. Okay, so after this process, they might gonna have some applicants, right? They come to apply for this particular job position. So now, in your organization or in your company, what you have to do is employee testing. Okay, you conduct some sufficient or applicable tests to select for the potential employee that you need for your organization then, right? So, okay, here in this topic, okay, there are some sub-issues will be covered, include why careful selection is so important. Okay, why? Why we need to carefully select for the employee? Okay, of course, there are some factors. Okay, it's important. There are 3 important factors. Okay, and the employee testing. Okay, there are some fundamental concepts. Okay, basic testing concept. For example, reliability, validity. Yeah, are you familiar with these terminologies? If you have taken the methodology class, yeah, and yeah, I think you should be familiar with about this terminology. Okay, reliability and validity. Later we will talk about it. Yeah, and type of tests. Yeah, there are several type of tests. What are they? All right. It could be there are some particular tests. It could be better for some particular job position. Okay, so yeah, later we'll talk about it. For example, like personality test. Have you ever done the personality test before? Yeah, maybe some of you did. Some of you, because in my other class, some of you has done that. Yeah, maybe later if you have a little bit of time, you can also do it online. Yeah, there's a MBTI test. Okay, check for yourself then. And the third one, word samples and simulations. Okay, there are some jobs, maybe they will give you a little bit kind of scenario simulations for you to do that. Yeah, it's not really that you do everything that in like a written test. Then. Okay, using word samples for employee selection, and sometimes for some company they also use this situational judgment test. It works quite well. Okay, situational judgment test. For some particular job positions. Okay, you can really select the appropriate or the right candidates that you need. Okay, and management assessment center. Okay, later I will also show you a short video that you know about what's that about. Okay, maybe in the near future you also have the opportunity to experience this. This is also one of the approach to test for the candidates. Okay, and for like for most of the companies, especially the big companies, the last step before they decided to hire you, to give the candidate the offer, this will be the last step. They will do some background check, right? If you have some work experience, then, well, of course, you will list up all this experience in your resume, right? So then for the company, sometimes they will call and check, okay, from your prior employer, right? Actually, for me, I also got the phone call before, yeah, because I used to work in a consulting company, and then there's a staff. She was in my team, and then she applied for a job in some other companies. But then at the time, both of us, we were not in the company anymore. Yeah. But then she put me in the kind of reference list, and then I did get the phone call from I think from their HR department. They asked me for several questions. Yeah. So, it's very, from this experience, it tells you about, you have to maintain the good relationship with any job experience. Okay. If you have like some bad experience from your, job experience, well, sometimes it might bring you some negative effect, right? Even though that you really hate the supervisor, well, try to calm yourself down, all right? Do not have the quarrel or the conflict with the supervisor. I think that would be the best strategy, okay? So these are the sub-issues that we'll cover in this topic then. Okay, so we start from the first sub-issue, why careful selection is so important. Can someone tell me the first one will be related to what? Yep.
Performance.
The performance, okay. And the second one?
Cost.
Cost, good, yeah.
Legal obligations.
Legal obligation, the legal issue, very good, all right. Later during the break, you just come here to get the sticker, okay. Performance, of course, that is one of the important issues, okay, because it leads to improve the employee and organizational performance. And your own performance, like for, as the managers, the performance comes from himself or herself only. As a manager, the performance comes from whom? Comes from the subordinates, right? Always depends on the performance of the subordinate. So that is the reason why leadership is very important. Okay, to be a manager, you have to know how to lead your team to work for you, right? It's not like, well, as a manager, you do everything by yourself. No, that is not correct, right? And it can reduce the dysfunctional behavior at work, right? If you select the right candidates or right employee, okay, in your organization. And of course, one of the important issue is it provides the PJ fit as well as PO fit. Okay, yeah, these two concepts are important. Later we will talk about it. Yeah. Because nowadays, for the most of the company, they are not just look for someone who has the PJ fit. Because sometimes, even though this person, this candidate, or this employee, he or she has good, expertise or good knowledge, but he cannot really fit in with the organization, with your company, It also does not motivate him or her to stay there. Okay, he all fits. All right, the second one related to cost. Okay, because it costs a lot for you to recruit a new staff as well as a new manager. Okay, to do you know how much does it cost to, approximately for you to recruit a staff? Make some wise guess.
50,000.
50,000, very good. 50,000, yeah. Actually, a couple years ago, it was 10,000, but now I think it's also more expensive then. All right, 50,000 for you to recruit a staff. Okay, but then for you to recruit a manager, it costs 10 times more. Okay, it costs a lot because you have to count into like all this process that you need to do, right? So it costs to recruit and hire a new employee. Legal obligation, okay, is related to negligent hiring. Okay, can you imagine if you live in a apartment complex? But then, for most apartment complex, they have the security, right? The security guard. If this security guard has some criminal record, can you imagine? Yeah, so then it's going to be dangerous if you live there, right? If you're the resident there. So hiring workers with a criminal record, well, of course, it brings problems, right? So then it's very important. Okay, negligent hiring, then there will be the employer's problem, right? So these are 3 important factors, okay, to tell you like careful selection for the employee. It's very important. Earlier, we mentioned about PJ fits. Okay. PJ fits indicates the person, the candidates that you find has to match with this KSACS. What does it mean by that? Yeah, thank you.
Knowledge, skill, ability, and competency.
Very good. Knowledge, skill, ability, and other competences. KSACS. That indicates this employee, this candidates that you try to search for. Okay, they need this knowledge, sufficient skill, or the ability, or some competences that you need for your department or for this particular job position. Right? So then, it's very important for this employee to perform the job well with all this KSACS. Right? So we call it as PJ fit. Right? With this part clear, right? And the other one, PO fit. What does it mean by PO fit? Yeah, really? Person to organization fit. Yeah, could you explain a little bit more what does it mean by that?
The employees being able to adapt to the organizational culture, rules, and strategy, so they can be able to do the job properly.
Okay, yeah, okay. That means that employee, as an employee, you can adapt to the organizational culture because are all organizations' culture similar? No, various, right? So all different organizations they might have different culture. For some organization, their culture is a little bit more kind of traditional, more conservative. But then for some organization, their culture a little bit more open, right? For example, the high-tech company, their organizational culture is more open and well, and also kind of more disciplined. They also need you to do all this, complete the tasks, in a more serious way, for example, etc. Okay, it's been shaped by the, this group of people. Yeah, that's a, so-called organizational culture. So then for some people, I think for some of you here, you have some work experience. I think you might understand a little bit more. Yeah, for some people, you say, even though they are quite expertise, but then this organization, for them to be there, they just don't feel comfortable. So it's nothing to do with their, the PJ fit. It's something to do with this PO fit. Okay, so now there most organizations, during the selection process, they also check, can you fit in with our organization or not? If you ask me how, well, they also have some selection process. Or sometimes, like during the interview process, the interviewer, they might ask some questions, then they test you. They know about it, right? So, PO fits and PJ fits, right? And the following issue is, we'd like to address for employee testing, okay? As we mentioned earlier, there are some fundamental concepts, related to the employees testing. Okay, for example, testing itself, it has we call it reliability. Okay, it indicates a consistency. Okay, consistency about what? Okay, later we'll talk about it. And the validity, it indicates for you to conduct some test for all those applicants. That indicates what's your purpose. Why do you need to conduct all this test for these applicants? The purpose would be you try to find out someone, then if you recruit them later in that particular position, they can have better performance, right? That's your intention, right? So that indicates that the test itself, it also needs this, we call it as validity. So it can measure what you intended to measure. For example, if you want to recruit for an engineer, okay, so then you need to provide some sufficient tests for these candidates, right? So then later, if you recruit them, it does not waste your company's money, right? Then he or she can have better performance. That indicates that the test itself brings good validity, all right? Okay. So then when we talk about the validity, it has 3 different types of validity. First one, criteria validity. Second one, content validity. Third one, construct validity. Okay, we will address it, okay, in our following slides. And the reliability. Generally, I like to give an example. It indicates that, for example, if you provide a written test, okay, for example, IQ test for the candidates, right? So then the test itself, does it have the reliability or not?
Yes.
Okay, that is the meaning of the reliability. It indicates the consistency of the score done by the same person